Hello. Be right back. What is going on? Hey guys, I am back. I am back and ready to go. So it's been a couple weeks. Gonna check in for a few minutes and then we'll do some more sesh development. For those that were following me on social media, a tree almost hit my house. It was like inches from my house, and so it caused so a lot of damage to the AC condenser, and I was out of my house for a week, and been working with insurance, so I'm really glad to say that I'm back in my home office. Let's see, can I show you guys? Check this out. This is like wild. So we've got a broken window. Can we see the broken window? Yes, we can see the broken window. So that's what I was dealing with. And we'll continue to deal with. We'll get the window fixed. We'll get all the other pieces fixed. Just glad that everyone's okay. Thanks, you guys, for being patient. It's not all bad news, though. I have been working hard at improving sesh and doing the 2.0 stuff. And so for those that have been around, you're probably familiar with it. And so we're going to continue that work. It's been going really well. And so let me just kind of get my screen all ready to go here. Let's see, we'll kill Tmux. And how about we go dark mode? Would you guys prefer dark mode? I'm sure you would. Let me know who's here. Say hi. I know some regular people like to be here. Yeah. So we'll bring this up a little and we'll sesh v2 connect. So you can see lots of to-dos. This isn't really just a rewrite. Version 2 is actually going to be bringing some cool additions, and it's going to make some of the pieces more stable. Let's get rid of inline hints. So I'm excited for that. And yeah, we're just going to put code today. The question now is like, how much of this do I want to test? How many features do I want to add? There's a bit of prioritizing of work. Otherwise, I kind of am just going to be working on all this on my own, and I don't want to have to do it all on my own. But the big shift here, you can see there's a lot of diffs here. Andres, I don't know if you're here today, but I ended up using Mockery, which has been really great. And so all my mocks are auto-generated. Instead of having to manually take the interface and add the testify mock logic and all of that. So all that's been automated, which is really great. And like my list stuff, the lister is doing really well. It's doing what it needs to do. In my opinion, the code seems simpler. So here we have I did make a shift here, which is interesting, worth talking about. I now created a map rather than just an array. And what the map allows me to do is it allows me to basically, I can list sessions, right? And then I take them and I use the name of the session as a key. And then I assign that key to the session. And so what that means basically is if I wanted to do something like a find, so if we go to Tmux and we say that I want to find a Tmux session, rather than looping through the array and going, okay, let me find it. Is it here? No. Is it here? No. Is it here? No. Like, right, just kind of inefficient to loop through every single entry in order to find it. I can do something like this, where I can just say, hey, sessions look at key. And when you do this sort of a basic assertion in Go, it allows me to pass an exists. And so exists tells me if it's there or not. It's like a Boolean value. And that Boolean value makes it a lot easier to just move forward with like, hey, find thing. Okay, do thing. So these if statements are rather simple. And again, exists, this would be false exists. And I return just an empty strut here of the session. And so that's working for me fairly well. Maybe what we'll do some of today, I have 2 hours to work. What I think will work is that we create an array so that our map can stay in the right order. What I've actually noticed is sesh v2, if we just go build, if we build it and we list, it actually ends up putting these in a totally random order. So see how like these dot files, these are configs. These are sock side results, right? And then up at the very top, there's probably Tmux sessions. No. See, look, that's a Tmux session. So the point is when you map it and then you say, hey, loop through my map and print, it loses its order, which is not great. And so, again, not a big deal. I could decide that there are two separate functions. One of them is, hey, get the thing and print it in an array. And the second way could be, hey, print the thing and convert it to a map. So that's one opportunity. And then the other, which I was looking at a while back in Raycast AI, map array is, hold on, what do you got? No. My dog really likes to find pens. This is the end of a pen. Yeah, lay down. All right, let's see if the dog's chill. And so the second option is that we can create a map, and then as a secondary like value on v2 models, the session, we could have like, I was looking through this. So here's the actual session. I don't know what this would be called. Sesh list is a strut, and this strut would have the sessions map, and then the sessions key, and then this keys could be our way of conserving the value and then printing. So it's an idea. I don't know if I love the idea. What do you guys think? Anyone in chat want to give some feedback on that? We could do this, or we could just have a separate, we could have a separate like function. One is list array, one is list map. And they would do similar things. It would just be the way that they format it. I could even, my lister, I could even, thinking about it differently, have like an option that instead of just listing, well, the only thing about overloading a function is that it might return something different, which I think is a little bit misleading. So basically, as we would loop through this, we would append the key to the array. So the array would keep track of the list. And then when we do the actual list command, you can see here that I'm just taking the range of sessions, which is the map. So you can do ranges on maps. And I'm just printing it, right? Am I printing it? No, this is being added to like a super map. So I end up creating this map that's this big old list of all of the sessions, right? So depending on what you flag, you have Tmux, you have config, you have Zoxide. And when you put all those together, you end up with, what what do we end up with? The CLI, I guess. The sesh v2 sesh CLI list. So this guy ends up for each of these, it prints them one by one. So again, the session is just the session model, which is what we're expecting. It's how everything's worked before. And then the key comes here, which I don't end up using. Bless me. And so we end up printing it this way. And so that's where we end up with this kind of awkward, unsorted list. So I think if I were to fix this, it makes me feel a bit more confident moving forward in knowing that what I'm dealing with, what I deal with here, I can be a bit more strategic in, rather than ranging through sessions, it would be a range through some sort of sessions. I don't know. The naming of this is going to be tricky. So we're going to have to decide how we want to name it. By the way, I'm using Sesh right now. And for those that aren't paying attention, this is one project, just a simple Go project, right? So Sesh is the repository. And the second path here are the work trees. So V2 is what I'm working on. But if I wanted to go to Sesh main, I have a main branch here. And what I've been doing is I've been adding my records to, I've been adding these records specifically to, I can't talk, Zoxide. So like all these folders, right? And so what I end up doing is if I want to go to main slash, well, we're going to do sesh main slash like the Tmux package, I can now have a session that is just the Tmux package. It's really great, actually. I've been using this sort of behavior more and more. The only thing that's a little bit annoying is that you end up having to do this sort of switching a lot. So for me, I prefer having one or two things open at a time. When I'm doing sort of like integration style testing, or I'm trying to see if this package, is doing what I need for the next package, that sort of cross package stuff. If I'm trying to juggle more than one at a time, I have recently found that I'm sort of overextending myself. And what I mean by that is that it's often easier to be really focused in on a Go package, get the work done, add appropriate unit testing, right? And now that every single package in my project is mockable and automated in its mockability, if that's a word, I have found that I can then just sort of ignore the pieces like the lister, Tmux. No, it's not the lister. It is the connect logic. So I do have a test for this. And we can see that I'm mocking all of the dependencies that live on the connector. And then in this case, I'm just like, let's get rid of these hints. And then in this case, I'm just like, hey, if I ever run attached session, I'm just going to return this. And if I'm ever going to add to Zoxide, I'm just going to return nil. Like those things aren't that important, but they're going to be called. So you have to mock them. And then I've been working through, like, I should be able to attach to a Tmux session, right? And so when I'm looking at Tmux and making sure that it's not attached, right? And then I find this specific session, and I believe that this find returns true as an exists. And then we can see here I have some work to do, right? So this establishing becomes a strategy. So I'm kind of pivoting. I'm right in the middle of a rewrite of this logic, which maybe we'll do more of that later, probably next week. The point to show you here is that it's really simple to mock and then do the assertions like, hey, I expect to be attaching to an existing session called .files. This string tells me that exactly the thing that I wanted to have happen happened because attached session happened, right? In this case, like yes, Tmux attached client, dash whatever got called. But in the Go language, I just care that like when I call connect, and there's a Tmux session with a matching name, I return that. I connect to that, and it gets more complicated as if you guys have been around long enough. Hopefully, there's some new people here. If so, hello, welcome. I'm making this open source Tmux session manager. It's already stable. We're at version 1. However, we don't have testing for the really complicated connection logic. And to me, that's the most obvious and useful thing to have tests for. So version 2 is going to allow me to fully test it, but we have some bugs, and some of the bugs can't really be tested very easily. And so that will be something that I'm hoping that this version 2 is much better organized in a way that I can get a lot more contributors. So someone should be able to just go to the repo, go to a contributors section, look at it and go, okay, great. Like, these are the packages. There are unit tests for everything. Please make sure to add a unit test. And I don't know how strict I'm going to be, but the public facing stuff that not the customer, but the developer ends up using, right? The Tmux user, whoever uses Sesh, whatever they're interacting with, I really want good testing, especially so I can scale. So now that I have all the big pieces figured out, it's just a matter now of coming up with the strategy that I think is best. And so let's just play around with it. Let's just do some coding. I might put on some tunes. Feel free to put on some music in the background. You guys like Cosmos Midnight? This is a band I really like. They have a new album. This album dropped. When did it drop? Just a few days ago. Last week? Anyway, it's just dance music. We'll get moving. So I guess I do want to make that decision now. To me, it makes the most sense to have a map and a key. So maybe I make like a sessions, and we have a map and we have keys. That feels the simplest. So we have the session map. And I always wonder, like, do I need to expose this type? I guess I will. So far, I've kind of not been overthinking, but definitely been acknowledging private and public functions, and just in general, the public-private patterns in Go are very helpful. I love being able to have enclose your logic, right? And having private stuff. But with models, it's always funny because I guess they all have to be public because they end up being called somewhere. So I have my ordered key map. All right, so we have our session map, which is a map string of sessions. And we have our session sources, which I use in like listing and things like that. And then I have my sessions, which is map and keys. So the real question is, have you guys seen the new Copilot? It's kind of cool. You can select things and then use the visual selection to ask Copilot a question. So how would you name the session keys? Strut keys. It seems like map and keys is too obvious and language specific. I'd rather have a more focus on the, what do we want? Focus on the business logic. Give me a few ideas. So I think we hit what? We hit enter and Copilot. So I already have Copilot. I pay for Copilot, so why not use it, right? So they're suggesting session index, session IDs. Interesting. It's an index of the sessions. Yeah. They do need to be unique. That's interesting. And then the directory is the catalog of sessions. Registry, I don't like registry. I kind of like index and directory. Because you can comment this and you can say unique identifiers for the sessions. Of the sessions, like that. And then this is directory. Interesting. I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, right? All that matters is I'm not going to want to break this very often. I'm almost wondering if index feels nice where it's like, hey, it's like a book index, right? And then the directory is the sessions themselves. Although this is going to say that it's more efficient to have that first. Okay. Interesting. What do we think, chat? No one's talking today. Did I mess something up on my end, or are people just not talking today? Someone give a hi in chat so I know it's working. I've literally not received any messages in the last half hour for some reason. But it's all good. We're just chilling. I do like this Copilot thing though. This is fun. There's a lot going on though with all of this. So index and directory. My only other thought is that like what about list? Like a list. How do I name something that indicates the index, not the index, the array, and the order is important, right? I mean, that's one of the pieces to this. I could say like ordered index. Ordered unique identifiers of the sessions. Right? It's like ordered index means that I want to sort by ordered index. Maybe that's fine. Let's put it in some code and see what happens, right? Now, unfortunately, don't look, but my git diff is pretty big right now. Part of me thinks that I should simplify this. Let's mock. Oh yeah, that changed. What was stat? I'm using stat for something. And then path. We added absolutes. Yeah. Let's just. These changed quite a bit. I have a couple new Zoxide things. All right. So we'll say chore update mockery. version. Put add function to use oxide. Nice. We're adding add, you guys. Don't you know? All right, and then we have our create switch or attach logic for Tmux. And then I guess path wrap, feature add apps to path wrap. And then what, get env? Is that the only one I added? Oh, no, stats. So we'll say feature add stat function. All right, so that's changing for sure. This is some internal stuff that I put on the lister package having to do with keys. So this all has to sort of change when I update my logic. So we're just going to kind of dump all this in. What's up, Dan? Thank you for... It's working. Dan, let us know it's working. Cool. You're distracted? What time zone are you in? Some people may still be working. So let me update lister to work with keys. All right. I don't think these commits are going to be great. There's a lot of exploring. West Coast still working. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, glad you're here. Hopefully I'm not too distracting. Sure. Update mockery. We are going to add that. I probably can do some sort of rebase, interactive rebase at the end of all this. Let's see, our dir package. Yes. So, oh, that was wrong. Let's reword it. Come on, package. My bad. So, yeah, the dir package is pretty cool. V2 dir. I can create a directory if needed, which... Oh, no, not create a... The dir package itself helps me detect if something is a dir. So like I can give it a string and it'll go, hey, this is a directory, this isn't a directory. Super helpful, because in one case I'm dealing with absolute paths, and then when I receive like a file, the file technically is not a directory, and so I want to make sure to differentiate that. All right, we got people coming home. So that was really helpful in trying to do some logic. Let's see, where are we at? Connecting. I guess we just need to update connector logic. I guess we're gonna just amend that, and then we're gonna... This is the fun part, right? You get to watch me. You get to watch me make commits. I guess the session thing is new, so we actually don't want to mess with that. So usually I'll just clear Tmux if I get a little overwhelmed. So I felt a little overwhelmed there, so I just killed the server completely. And I know that for now we have our model package, which we're not really dealing with anymore. We're going to do the list package. So v2 lister is really all I need today. So in the lister package, we want to list keys in a certain order. So why don't we just write unit tests for that? So, by the way, anyone like NeoVim's new inlay hints? Have you guys see these? So these are my types in gray. And the types are, they're just virtual, I guess is the best way to describe it. It's a little different for every language. So in Go, we see a lot of things after in this variable definition, and then before inside a function argument. It's interesting. I don't know if I love it, but it's interesting. I know you can turn it off by default with a config, but so far it's been working fine for me. So this, is it gonna pass? I don't think it even builds, so I don't know why it would pass. I do need like T runs. I think I'm gonna rewrite this. I think I'm gonna write this differently. So this is list test. My lister, yeah. I could focus on this, or I could focus on, we can even make this bigger. We can focus on the public function, or we could just test everything internally. Perhaps we'll start there. So we end up with keys, and then we list the sessions. So I list the sessions, and then I convert them to this, and then this gives me that. So we actually will change all of these. Let's just go ahead and say that we expect this to change. So we're going to test Tmux list. I think I might do list. This feels good. So we're going to list. Do we want to do that? Sure, we'll start here. So the Tmux key, how many times do we use that? I only use it once, and I only want to call it once. All right. So let's simplify this down. So to list Tmux sessions, we test it. Right, so this is T testing.t. All right, testing.t. And then we what? We test. I'm not good at this yet, by the way, chat. One of these days, I'm gonna be a badass Go developer. But right now, it feels like I'm still kind of working my way upwards. So it's a test and then a run and that func New line argument. What are we talking about here? Oh, I see. It's like that. And then we'll import testing. So should list Tmux sessions. And the most basic thing that we care about is that we list them by most recent use. Is that right? So maybe we split it this way. So we list sessions. Tmux will list sessions. So we're going to do a list Tmux session. This requires Tmux. So we're going to do a quick mock Tmux. And this takes in our mock Tmux. And this is a coming from Tmux. So I ended up just publicly exposing mock Tmux. Redeclared. What are we talking about? Ah. That was my bad. So we're going to list. Oh, dude, my wallpaper. I made this with Midjourney, actually. Come on. Where's Finder? There we go. I don't know how to share it, but look at this. How cool is this photo? It's like a sci-fi library with a floating tree in the middle. Like, this is Midjourney. I gave it a really crazy prompt, and it gave me this really fun photo. I haven't shared it before. It's probably going to show up on my website at some point. So let me just add that to my to-do list. Share my made. So I'll do that. Yeah, thanks for noticing. I think it's a pretty cool wallpaper. And of course, I don't know if you know this, but I have a Westterm video. I can change these. So that's Spider-Man 2, the portals from the game. I got a bunch of these. A little Minecraft one. There's that tree. There's a Dune one. These are just the ones I have active right now. I like to swap them in and out when I'm in the mood. And then I have just a button that lets me randomly sort them. All right, so we list sessions. This isn't sorting. So v2 tmux. Did we sort here? Sort by last attached happens on the tmux level. Cool. So this actually would be pretty good to do. Can we do some sort of expect? I almost want to like turn this into this was kind of hard to do. We did this streaming a few times back. There's a lot here. So the question is, we expected the order, right? What was this test for? Sort by last attached, right? So the first attached is there, and then the second attached is there, yeah. So I basically want to create something like this. I'm not a big fan of copying and pasting, but like, that's what we need. Could I call this something like I don't know. Maybe we'll just put it here first. Well, ignore that. All right. So first attached, last attached. I get two values. We got sesh main. These need to be different, don't they? Sesh v2. I don't love this isn't very permanent if I were to name these. There's probably a simple way to do like a new, and then I name it and then give it a unique identifier. So that's something to play around with. But basically, the first one has to be after the last one. And when we list sessions, check this out. So this is the way it works. We say tmux on list session return these. And that's it. Copilot already knew what I was planning on doing. So I didn't even have to think about it. But we're basically just we're mocking this, and then all of this logic is what we can test. Well, in this case, it's this. So we actually want to do sessions. And we create, what did we call these? V2 model. Directory and ordered index. So we have directory, and then the ordered index is it's going to be variable of string. Right. So we're going to make the string with no length, and then for each one as they come in, we're going to say ordered index. We're going to append. Do we append? Yeah. All right. So we append to that, and then the directory is assigned a new key. And then these values end up on a models.sesh sessions, the directory, and the ordered index. So this ends up, can I do nil? What was this? Am I changing it? All right, so I'm just looking at the return statement here. Yeah, so we're not doing a, assignment. So I guess I'll just do model.this, and that's valid. So this is my lister package, and my lister package can list Tmux sessions, and it is private. So then this guy is going to be sessions.directory, and I can look up a key directory, a directory key value. Here, do you guys want to see me? There we go. Sun's starting to go down here. So that was easy. I should probably test these. So Tmux test, we did that. And so then the expectation here is that the session gets transformed so this should be the new sessions, and I want to do an assert that errors nil. What is it? What do I assert? Expect? I always get this wrong. I'm still learning the language here. Stop. Expect? We do have this kind of expect, but that's not what I'm looking. Assert dot equal. All right. You give it the expected. It expects nil, and it got error. And the assert library is just built in. Yeah, it just testifies the assert library. If we run this, does it run? Oh, it may not build yet. There's a chance that this can't build. List can't go over sessions. All right, so we still have to, on the list, directory. Oh, this is where I'm going to do the ordered index. So this is an I situation. And the session is like that. Well, this is a string. Oh, it's saying it's an int. Why is it an int? Oh, my bad. So the index, that might be a little bit misleading. But this is the stringed value, and the directory of the same value gets assigned. Yeah, that's right. What probably makes more sense, though, is that list returns sessions. So we got to rework all this before the testing is going to come through okay. So this is like model sessions. Then we assign that. For each of these, we assign it to the global directory. And then the all, this needs to become like all directory and all index. Because this guy is returning this. Do I need to range through it? Maybe I don't. Maybe I can just assign it. We'll find out. Basically, if it's not nil, it returns, and then the all index, we're appending the ordered index. That's returned by this. Prepend. No. We want to make first. I think that's right. I guess we'll do some testing later because I got to test list Tmux sessions and then I'll test list. We'll test list later on in this. We're at the first hour, so we're going to see how far we can get with this today. So all index, we're appending the ordered index from here. I kind of want this to be named because I need it to be more obvious. So of the full index, the full ordered index, could I call it full? Does that feel better? The full index, full feels better. So if Tmux has its source, then we list. We error out if it craps out on us. We append to the index, and then we assign to the directory. Um, oh, hold on. I'm getting better. This is brand new to me, this idea. Do I have to use the for loop to assign the Tmux session to the full directory? No, you don't have to. You can assign it with a built-in copy function. So in this case, it's necessary. Okay, that's fine. So Copilot says, hey, you got to do it this way. All right, fine, whatever. Not a big deal. It's not even very much code. Look at this. It's 3 lines of code. So not a big deal. All right. I digress. This guy needs to be this. And then we're not returning the full directory. We're returning the this. And the directory is the full directory. And the ordered index is the full ordered index. Cool. So now is this going to build? No. Lister 24. Oh, right. Right. So this guy now returns sessions. It feels good. It feels good. We're using plural and singular. It's nice and simple on this end. And I think Mockery is going to not want something. What do they not want? Encountered an error. Range over sessions. Okay, so we're still running into that on list. So list. I don't think that matters. I don't think that matters either. Got it. So the CLI can't list. That makes sense. Let's go to the CLI list and let's print over the ordered index. So we know that we have S as the index, and we're going to print as long as I write this code correctly, I shouldn't run into a big problem here. But it should be enough that I just say session dot directory I name, because that's what we're printing. And honestly, that should be enough to build. Cool. Let's go. We printed. Let's get a little confetti going. We printed. Okay. So if we printed and we build that, then on my lister, I should be able to do the Tmux test, and it should at least not fail unless there's an actual error going on here. Oh, you can't. Really? Are you going to complain about that? Oh, sweet. So this isn't a full test, right? But we do want to assert equal sesh main and then sesh v2. All right, cool. So I want to assert, for now, I just want to start with a basic assertion that sessions dot ordered index 0 is that value, and then v2 is that value, right? Let's replace one. So like, what do you think? Do you want to pass on me? Oh no, we're going to get an error. But do we get a useful error? Yes. These are Tmux sessions. So the key will always have the source and a colon in the front of it. which means if there was some sort of conflict of interest where it's like, hey, a config session and a Tmux session share the same name technically, I decided that before streaming today, this was like a couple weeks ago, that every mapped key would have a source prefix on it so that we are, and that should pass. That passes. Hell yeah, that passes. Awesome. All right. Now I could do more in asserting that that, you know, the thing exists and that I can assert that the value exists on the other thing. So we could do some sort of asserting of the name. The name of the session is on the directory, and the directory for Tmux main sesh name is the same value. And that should pass as well. Yeah, and it passes. I do not like these. I kind of want these to be folded. Nope. Yeah, I really want to be able to get rid of these. What is this? 15 to 40. God, that's a lot of lines. So we'll find a way to consolidate this. I do have to do this kind of thing a lot more. Really, it's only going to be happening in the Tmux package and in the lister package, because anything outside of this, the lister package, like it's not really a big deal. It doesn't really matter. All this stuff, this is very Tmux specific. But once it's abstracted by the lister, you like my confetti? Once it's there, I can do another one. You ready? We got a little rock star. Let's go. We got a little light show. How about that? Anyway, outside of those two packages, this kind of stuff doesn't really matter. It doesn't really impact what I'm doing. But I love that I just tested should list Tmux sessions, and it tests that two are in order and that the output is what we expect. So could I consolidate the testing logic and reuse it? Absolutely. But we are going to feature change sesh lister to use directory index. So that is a win for the first hour for sure, especially how much I was kind of blabbering about, right? I wasn't even talking much. There we go. That's a better view anyway. So this would be great to create like a class that I can say, hey, please give me a working model session, Tmux session, and then use it. I do a lot of this at work. So this idea of like, how do I seed something useful for the testing goes a long way. So that's that. Do we just repeat the process? I've actually realized lately that I prefer that our config values are done a different way. So let's see. Let's just amend that. Don't tell anyone. I won't tell if you don't. I love amending. Do you guys like to get rebase interactively? Is anyone a big rebaser here? So I've been doing a lot of, what have I been doing? I've been doing a lot of merge commits, my day job. I was like, you know what? My commits don't matter. My PR is fine. Commit. I've been a fan of rebasing in the past, but I felt lazy at work in regards to that. And then I had a really cool coworker who was like, hey, let's interactive rebase and let's write the history in the way that every commit is semantic and clean and says exactly what it does. And there's no additional commits that are like, fix this, do that. It's like you can consolidate commits, and so that you have one centralized clear set of instructions to like machine instructions, if you're really specific with Git. Um, and I do like it. I do like this idea of like, do the work, get it done, whatever. And then if you want to be more precise, be more precise. Do your interactive rebasing. Now, because this project's so big right now, V2 is this huge monolithic kind of undertaking. I'm not going to be as strict. But when I start contributing smaller pieces to this project, absolutely, I'm going to be more strategic and precise with my commits. Make sure they're in a reasonable order. Make sure that I'm never breaking anything per commit. That's always the kind of the funny part, right? Is that you sometimes commit things that like technically it's not fully stable. And so that's something interesting to play around with. But anyway, I digress a little bit. Let's test the next piece. So technically, when I go to test this list function, I just have to mock list Tmux sessions. I don't have to actually call it. So that's nice when I go about doing that. Yeah. So AJ, that's a great question. It doesn't matter if you squash it, right? Doesn't matter if you squash it. Maybe I wasn't clear in what I was saying, but now that I'm more precise and doing interactive rebasing and making sure I have responsible commits that are clean, then I rebase the PR onto main. And so there aren't even merge commits. I'm not a big fan of merge commits, which is why I like squashing and merging, because it kind of replaces the merge commit with this like really precise monolithic commit or whatever. And so now I like to rebase. So I'll rebase all the commits on my PR into main. And so all those commits just show up exactly as they were proposed in the PR. Makes it really, really clean. What's up, new founding? Not interested. I don't have any mods. How do I actually get rid of these people? But hopefully that's helpful, or you find that interesting. We're gonna have reception here. Oh, hey, so there's other people streaming today. All right. So if I'm a moderator, can I not? There we go. Goodbye. If anyone's in the community and is interested in being a moderator, I would love a moderator because I don't have one yet. I would tell Andres to do it if he was here. I don't know if Andres is here today. I know Ian would, but he's a busy guy. He's got a wife and kids and work and all those things, and he's in Australia, so I don't know if he would be. He's not always consistently here. But if you're on the Discord, by the way, I'll mention it on a little halfway mark here. Join my Discord server. If you go to my website, watch out for the light mode. Sorry about that. You can go up here and hit the little Discord button. You'll also find a bigger version of it down here. You can join our server. We have a good time. We talk about a lot of things. And yeah, I tend to stream every Thursday. So if you're here for the first time and enjoying what you're seeing, come back at the same time next week, and I probably will be here. I do a lot of Go right now, only because this is my open source work, and I really like building in public. And I like feedback. I'm not getting a lot of feedback today, but sometimes community members are here with me, and they give me some feedback on what they like and what they don't like, and we make sure that Sesh is the best it can be. So yeah, that's fun, and hope to see you guys around more. I think I kind of want to change config. I can just go through this one by one. So config works differently. We need to add keys. Not only do we need to add keys, we also need to add, is this the config? Yeah, so the config gets passed in. we make a map. Then we loop through them. And for everyone that has a name, we create a key and we assign it. So this is the way that I originally decided to go about doing this. Okay, that's not useful. What was that? I did a paste and it was kind of a mess. So we want this. Oh, I see. Maybe that was where it bit me. And we're going to paste that. There we go. Just a bad yank. Don't mind me. So I like using my mouse when I'm streaming, but I promise I don't use the mouse much when I'm my head's down and I'm getting stuff done. Let's listen to some Billie. Anyone like Billie Eilish's new album? I'm a fan. I think it's pretty dope. All right. So the way that that's different than the Tmux. So Tmux, nope. We want to loop through the configs. Oh, I don't even have to do that part. Okay. We have our ordered index and we have our directory. So we have our ordered. Let's take it one step at a time. So this is going to be sessions. This becomes the directory, and this becomes the ordered index. And then we loop through it the same way we did before. We create a key, and then our ordered index is going to append the key, and then our directory is going to assign the session. That's it. Do I need to do an if name? Oh, if name is here. So as of right now, I'm deciding that sesh list-c lists things by name, right? So are we all on board with this? These are all named sessions. So if I go to sesh config, we can see that like carabiner elements is a named session, name session, name session. If we go down far enough, we're going to find that some of these, like my website is just a path and a startup script. I don't need or want to name this. I'm fine with, if I go to joshmedeski.com, that I invoke the startup script, but I don't need to name it. That's my preference. So as of right now in version 1, the config option allows name to be an optional value. So that's kind of where we're at with that. So for now, the simplest thing we can just say is, let's close that. Yeah. So we just want to say, hey, only lists the ones that are named, which is why we do a make with 0. You can actually make things with a certain number if you know that number ahead of time, but in this case, we don't. The Tmux one, we probably could list this. So we can, let's actually, I'm getting better, chat. I'm getting better. Can you make the list with the number of Tmux sessions there are from, I don't know, maybe that's enough. Sure. Length, right. So you get the length, and then the make, on the make, you can do that. Yeah. Oop. So I+1. No. We're not doing that. I could, let's see, num of sessions, and then when I make this, we can say num of sessions. I don't know if it's that much more performant, but I know with like memory allocation, I'm kind of new to lower level programming. That could be useful. Could be useful. Don't know if we need to do that, but why not? All right, so back to config. We just want to return model.sesh sessions with our directory and our ordered index. And then the find is the directory by name. Yeah, that's it. Nice and simple. Now, I guess I can just recreate the config. Should be fairly straightforward. So now we have config test, and it's package lister, and we're gonna, can I get better at this? Test list test. No, I'm not gonna be good at this. Tmux test. Test list Tmux session. So now I want to test list config sessions with test. And then we're going to t.run should list sessions. And we got to close that. We didn't do that last time. Tmux test. And then we just list and assert. So I guess I need to mock, right? Config. And I actually list list config sessions, and we pass the config. So the config this time is config. Session configs. Can I just sure. Is that valid though? Do I have to do a new line? How do I? This is where I'm not very good at this. All right. Is it all just that? Okay. Fix this. Let's just see what happens. Is it going to fix it? The correct code, sir. You did this wrong. Okay. I just laughing at myself. These in the hints, man, they drive me crazy. All right. So we have our model.config. Session configs are model.session configs. And I don't need this guy. And this guy goes away. Yes. Yes. And then our config goes in there. So I don't need to test parsing TOML files or anything crazy like that. But what is this saying? Two variables. Oh, right. This doesn't return an error. It can't error. It can just not find any. It's fine. It's just whatever. We just want to do a simple assertion. And we'll do the name is sesh main. Actually, I'm going to do something like this, sesh config. And we will do config sesh. And then just a name and path. All right, so then we want the config to be sesh config, and then we want the path. I guess we'll just assert the path. And that would be this guy path. Something like that. Is it going to not build? Cannot range over sessions on list. Oh, right. List. Lister list. Okay, you can go away. No. Did I just lose my test? No, that's the old test. List. Ah, yes. So this becomes the ordered index, right? And we do our I, and then if do I have to do that? I don't think it matters. But let's first put the full ordered index by appending that, and then let's call these config sessions, and then we loop through the ordered index, and we get I. We don't have to sort range. Well, it doesn't really matter. The full directory I equals the tmux or the config sessions directory I. And this doesn't really matter. Simpler. What's up, Andres? Nice to see you, man. Glad you're here. You got about a half an hour to hang out with me today, but we're making it work. This has been a good stream. If my week wasn't so crazy, I'd probably stream more than once. I might stream extra next week. I'll let you guys know. If you're on Twitch, thanks for the subscribe. If you're on YouTube, you can subscribe and hit the bell, and I think YouTube will give you a notification if I ever go live. So what I've noticed, I just did something. I think I'm going to be able to actually refactor this. If these are all the same, then I can actually loop through the sources with single lines of code. So this if thing can go away, which we'll do that. We'll do that later. Config. Let's just keep going. So we will use sessions for config. And then we'll do Zoxide. There's just 3 sources right now, so it's pretty straightforward for us to do it this way. We are working on V2, by the way, Andres. I've come up with this model we create a directory of the sessions, and it's a map. So there's a key and there's a value, right? And the value is the sesh session. And so that makes it really easy to do like lookups where it's like, hey, I want to get this session. You just get it by a key rather than range, like looping through arrays constantly. And then when I go to create things like through the list command, I can generate an ordered key, like a key index. So that's what this is. So this is an index of all of the keys of the directory. And so that makes it a lot easier for us to just work with in general. So let's go back to the lister and let's get Zoxide done. So I'm actually going to close that and reopen it. Let's go to Zoxide. So we're going to Zoxide test package oxide. Oh no, lister func test list oxide sessions. And what am I doing? Testing.t and then t.run. And we're going to run should list oxide sessions, please and thank you. All right. I don't need that func. So we're going to test. Is it the asterisk? Yeah. So this what? It is a func. So it'll pass because it's empty, right? So we are going to set up mock oxide results, and then we're gonna call list oxide, and is that the arguments? Oxide and home. So we're going to mock oxide with the new mock. No, that was it. New mock oxide, mock home, mock oxide, mock home. And this comes from oxide, and this comes from home. Is it home? Yeah. So the mocker, we're going to say mock oxide on list results. I think that's it. So let's go to the oxide package, make sure we get this right. So the oxide result comes from the model package, and it's simply a score and a path. It's a score and a path. Okay. Score. Cool. So this would be sorted by score. So it doesn't really matter, but I could put them in a different order, and I'm pretty sure it comes through as sorted by score. And then we're just going to do something similar, right, with this test. So this guy, we asserted all of these. So we're going to use our oxide. Oxide. I guess it's going to be score or path. Score. Does score show up in the model? That is the question. I know this won't pass. We might as well just do the logic now. So we decided that this only gets used once. So when we do the key creation, we'll do that. And then this isn't going to return that anymore. It's going to return session. So model.sessions. Couldn't it list oxide sessions? Yes. From the results, we make the lists, right? So the config, wait, hold on. Config, we made a ordered index and directory. So Zoxide, ordered index and directory. We can get the length. Num Zoxide results is that. So we decided that works. Ordered index directory, sessions. Then we loop through that. We shorten the home. If it ever errors out, we need to do that. And then the key gets made. And then the config ordered index directory key. So ordered index, we add the key, and then the directory is what gets replaced. Yes. Now we're cooking. All right. So then that's the directory, and that's the ordered index. Sessions was directory, so that goes away. Yeah, this looks fine. And then this changes because we list differently. This feels really good. I'm feeling like this is the right path forward. So Zox test. Can we not build yet? Right, list. So we have to list. We have to change Zoxide. So when we list, we're listing. I think I'll just refactor this. Check it out, chat. So we want to loop through sources for watch this. But I do need to I need to go through it in the right order. That's the fun part. Map string. I just want to make the map of Tmux this. Not index. I want to call this source index. No, I don't want to make it a map. Create array index of yeah. Sources, I pass in the list options, and I'm basically like, hey, if I don't have any of these, then I'm going to set them all to true. And if any of them happen to show up, then we individually pick them out. So we say, okay, for everyone you have, it's true, and everyone you don't have is false, if any are provided. So it's a really simple function. I love this function. It cleaned it up a lot. And so now, add config that allows user to change the order. How cool is that? So if you decide, I don't want Tmux sessions first and then config options next and then Zoxide results last, I want to change the order, then it should just be a simple string. in the toml file, you just give it a string of whatever values you want that are valid, and it's a feature, right? And that would be very little effort. It's just like maybe a 2 or 3 extra lines here. You do have to validate that stuff, so that's sort of the part that's a little bit of a headache. But I plan it at some point when V2 launches or soon before it launches, we're going to have some sort of check health command. You can say like sesh health maybe would be the command, and then it would like run the toml file, and it would process everything, and it would do what it needs to do. So loop through. This is one of those things that we now do for the stringed value, and then we just do these. It just happens once. So this is sessions. The hardest part here is mapping the logic. This is the hardest part, which we'll get to. I'll make it right. So sources now is more than true and false. It'll be the name of the source, the key, and the function that should be called, and true or false if it should happen. All right, so we'll get it all done. Sessions. This is better. And look at this. All this goes away. And now I really like when a function is visible at this size, all within one screen. It's very satisfying. So we've looped through that for each source. We are going to call the function. Here's where it's going to be a pain. Perhaps all of them are going to be passing the real lister, probably. And then our mapping will be a mapping of the sources. Because that's what I'm doing in connector. I'm already doing that. So we have this like, let's get rid of that. This like strategy stuff. So see here, I decided it was much easier to, rather than saying if do this thing, and it like was all these if statements stacked on top of each other that all sort of do the same thing. Now I have this idea of connecting is made up of strategies. So this Tmux strategy is a function. So we call the function. When the function's called, all 3 of the 4 of the potential strategies all will be this, a func that passes a thing that returns the other thing. So we standardize the return, which we already did that. We already standardized the return on all of these. What we need to do now is return, create a standardized format for the arguments for each of the list functions, which is fine. It's not a big deal at all, because we're just going to probably call the lister, which this should be an L for lister. So L lister is just going to be called. So it's one of those things that now I just have to decide. I guess we'll just do these one by one. So Tmux, instead of taking in Tmux, we'll take in L for real lister. And then this just becomes L.tmux. And this also becomes L.tmux. Real lister, real lister, real lister, real lister. Oh, let's do it this way. So this doesn't take an argument. Is this going to be valid? No, I'm okay with this taking this argument. Don't want to necessarily. Let's see what I did with the connector. So on the connector, the Tmux strategy takes in as an argument. Yeah, that's what I want. So it takes it in as an argument, and then lister gets passed in. Yes. So that's that. And then no config. Config just takes in config, which is not what we want. We want lister. And so this becomes l.config. And then this becomes lister. It actually simplifies it a bit. There's not so much like having to deal with, well, which dependencies are being passed into these functions. Like, I already have done all the hard work of dependency injection, so it's okay to just pass this in as we see here. It will mean our tests broke, so we have to go back and adjust those. And that's all right. So this is Oxide and home. So now this is lister. Lister. So this is Oxide. This is l.home. This is gonna pass in lister. What's left? Oh no errors left. That's good. And then the next one is, those are the three. Do we need to change the tests of each? But then now these tests get a little bit more complicated. Because now I have to pass all the dependencies of lister, which is fine. It's not a big deal, but it does mean that when I call this guy, it should error here. Yeah, it does error here. So now we want lister. So that's my mocked Tmux. And then we're going to mock everything else. So let's do that. Yes. So I can't mock lister itself because we're testing lister. So this is where the dependency injection is great, but when we make these sort of trade-offs, you end up having a bit more here. I'm curious if anyone who is a Go developer or spends a lot of time with this stuff, is there a way to simplify this part? Because otherwise, basically, lister, these all have to be mocked, even though I'm not technically touching all of them. What's great about that, the fact I'm not touching all of them, is that like in this Tmux test, we're gonna mock config, and it's just a mock. There is no mock config. This is the fun one where it's like, it's just whatever. And then mock home is a new mock home. And then config. All right. And then mock, we did mock Tmux, so now we do mock Oxide. And so what ends up happening is our lister is a new lister with all these values. What is this? This is, I haven't tested this exact format before. Let's just read it. Cannot use lister a variable of type lister as that value in an argument to that, you need a type assertion. Do I? Why does that matter? So then if I'm doing it as dependency, like the way that I'm doing it, why does real connector work? So when I pass it, we mock all this. We establish it. Well, this one's probably out of date. It is. I haven't updated that test yet. Argument to list. Come on. Config home Tmux oxide. These are good. Lister then itself has to be scaffolded together. And then we call it on the function. Fine, I'm fine with all of this, but something's wrong. Cannot use lister as real lister value. Expects a pointer, but you're passing the lister type. I don't understand. Maybe I'm just not good at pointers. Real lister is that. Oh, interesting. So that's creating the lister, and then we have to assign the real lister. And this is what I was talking about. I don't know if this is going to pass. List. All right, so we did something wrong with list. We're not ready to finish this yet. Oh, yeah, so this is one of those chicken versus egg kind of situations. So if I start with that, just Tmux. Declared scopes but not used. Correct. So we pass in options. I think I want to always define them. And so our list source is going to be a new model, I guess. It makes the most sense to me that we make it a model. And the model's going to say, yes or no, do we want to show? We're also going to say, here's actually what the function is. So we're going to actually call the function. It doesn't need to be in the model's package. I think we're going to be fine if we just call it here. So this is going to be some sort of map. So we're going to have the source index. We'll probably recreate what we are doing everywhere else. It seems to be a simple enough pattern that it works, but I don't have enough time to work this out today on stream. But welcome to more people. I see some more people have joined in. Glad you're here. I've had a crazy week, so we're not going to stream much longer. But basically, if I were to think this through, I would recreate this sort of pattern, perhaps more of what I'm doing with connections, where I have a few keys on each value that tells me, hey, for this one, I'm going to do this, and for that one, I'm going to do that. And more importantly, on the connection stuff, the strategy is defined on the connect logic as a repeatable thing. So this is the part that's important, is that each, instead of strategy, it's going to be a source, and every source that comes from any potential tooling, we want every list function to return the same thing and be the same structure. And then we'll have some optional, they're probably not optional, but they'll be like metadata that says, hey, this thing can do that and that thing can do that. And even for the ones we skip, we'll still have them defined, which is cool, because if a developer wants to add a new one after this, they just create a couple new files. They make sure to add a new entry to the source compiler thing that like scaffolds all of the sources, and that's it. There won't be any, you won't have to go into the lister and, you know, create another if statement, and if this source, then do this, and then call this thing and call that to that thing and append those values. This is just always going to be the same way every time. Everybody will always list something, throw if there's an error, add to the ordered index, add to the directory, and it repeats until it's done. So I really like that. I don't have to go through all of it, but I had a good time with you guys today. It's good to be back. It's been a couple weeks. I appreciate all the kind wishes people were that don't know. I had a tree fall just inches from my house and cause some damage. So I've sort of been disrupted by that and not been able to stream. But I have been scraping away at Sesh V2, a couple of hours here and there, you know, usually on a weekday morning. Maybe on the weekend I'll spend a little extra time if I'm feeling the energy, but it's been kind of draining, to be honest, dealing with house stuff. But anyway, those are my problems. Happy to you guys to be here today and to watch me do some coding. It was a pretty quiet group, but hopefully you guys enjoyed watching me work and, you know, see my brain and see how I like to solve problems. And so I'm excited for Sesh as it's developing. All these improvements that I'm making to the code base will make it much easier for people to contribute. Will also make it much easier for us to squash bugs, because they'll be very obvious. We'll know exactly what was the intended functionality, and when that changes, we'll have a clear path to testing and refactoring and things, fixing code. So I'm super excited. I hope you are too. If you're not familiar with Sesh, this project's on version 1 already. It's stable. And there is a YouTube video on my YouTube channel, Josh Medeski, that I go over all of the main features that it offers right now. It's a lot. It's a pretty dense 12 minute video. I forget how long it is. And so that came out just a few weeks ago. So definitely go give that a look, and feel free to join us on the Discord server if you're not there already. And really appreciate you guys. I'll see you next time.